We continue to interview candidates vying for a seat on Lethbridge City Council, giving them an opportunity to share their platform and vision for our city. And today we welcome a name you might recognize from print media, particularly if you're a reader of the Lethbridge Herald. Beeber is here joining me in studio. Welcome, Al.
Hey, it's okay. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, we love having you. Okay, so Al, first off, you are well integrated in this community,
Yes.
having been a journalist, a reporter for the Herald for how many years was
I
it?
came here in August of 1987.
Okay.
I started my career in northwestern Ontario in a town I'd never heard of when I was growing up out here.
Yes.
And I stayed there for 7 years, and you know what? Winters were
happens.
cold.
Yeah.
And I decided, let's see what Lethbridge has to offer back home in southern Alberta.
Okay. Okay. What was the town that you
It was
went to?
called Fort Francis. It was right on the Minnesota border.
Oh, so way out there.
Yeah,
okay.
right
Like
close to
Manitoba.
Manitoba.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Winnipeg girl myself.
So yeah, we used to go into Winnipeg, watch the Jets.
Yeah. Okay. Go Jets.
Yeah.
There we go. Go Bombers.
In the old Winnipeg Arena.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. Everything's changed. But
Yeah.
but speaking of change, you being a journalist, you've seen a lot of changes over the years. You've covered this city inside and out. What made you want to throw your hat into the ring for a city council?
I've been following Lethbridge politics, obviously, for years. And when I first started covering City Hall beat in 2021, a job I volunteered for, because I was interested in it, and I have gotten to know the city well. And I've been watching what's been going on as our city grows and develops. And I've seen the way council operates. They've had a lot of challenges. And a couple of years ago, people started saying, you need to run for City Hall. And I was already thinking about it. So when I gave my year's retirement notice, I thought, I want to consider pursuing this even farther. And then there was community sentiment growing that, Al, please do this. And I started taking it more seriously. And I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm not ready to be just a dog dad at home.
Yeah.
And I am really interested and see what I can contribute to the community in a different way.
Yeah. So what kind of experience do you think you'll be able to bring?
Well, what I have is a really good understanding of City Hall, how it operates. And
True.
I've got good relationships with the people in there. I've dealt with so many different departments in there, from waste and recycling to, the finance department. I've gotten a really good handle on how City Hall works and the challenges they face in administration, as far as trying to operate the city. And I understand the distinction between governance and operations. Governance has its role, city administration has its own role. And it's, the role of governance sometimes has to get involved in city operations, but it has its own distinct role. And that's what a lot of people in the community don't understand.
Yeah, so interesting. So what are you most passionate about? If you were to get a seat in there, what types of issues would you want to be tackling?
Well, you know
mostly?
what? Running a city is a collaborative effort. So I don't think anybody can go in there and say, we want to do this, or we want to do that. We can bring our ideas to the table and hopefully they'll find common ground. But it's obviously residential development, commercial development, industrial development are important. So we have to work with the city administration and economic development Lethbridge to develop strategies to increase the tax base, to pay for the essential services we have, to pay for the community service we have, and to help with the cost of the social issues that we are dealing with.
I was going to ask you, what is your take on taxes? Because obviously that's a huge issue with council. Residents don't like to see their taxes going up, but yet if you want to provide all the services that for the residents, sometimes that happens. So what's your take on that? How do you go about sort of striking that balance?
Well, I think we need to figure out how to spend judiciously, focusing on the needs, especially during this tough economic climate. But we also have to consider things like arts. Because, culture brings people to communities, but it's not going to be a high priority. A lot of people, because there are so many other concerns right now. The wastewater treatment plant. I don't know if you guys did the tour there last year, but it was really interesting and enlightening, and there's a huge cost associated with that. So we have to find a way of balancing taxes to keep it affordable for seniors, for young people, while also providing those necessary services. And that's going to be a tough juggling act moving ahead.
Yeah.
So we need to increase that tax base.
Okay, so you're all for increasing the tax base. Now you've been a longtime supporter of arts, and you mentioned that there.
Yeah.
So how important is this for election 2025?
Well, obviously the idea of a concert hall is gone, long gone. But there are ways we can support the arts, including providing a little bit of money for the arts acquisition program, even just advocating for the arts to get provincial support. Because as we saw the province talk about a few weeks ago, arts are an economic driver here. And they bring tourism to the city. When you have companies like New West Theatre, we've got the Southern Alberta Art Gallery, which is a nationally renowned institution. We've got, CASA, which does great work. We have great museums here. The Galt Museum's fantastic. So we have to find a way of bringing attention to those organizations so they can thrive. And come budget time, trying to work with them to give them the money they're going to need to operate. Just like we're going to have to do everything else.
Yeah,
but we have really pressing issues in this city right now.
Definitely. Speaking of which, housing affordability is an ongoing issue. So what do you see as a potential solution for that?
Well, everybody talks about densifying. And I've heard some people say, well, densifying should only be in certain neighborhoods, but that's like the NIMBY attitude. So if we look at densification, I'm kind of taking the attitude of some of the people that I've talked to who've come here from different cities. We need to build up in different areas of the city. Make it densification everywhere so nobody feels like they're left out. And but we need to make sure we have enough parking, which was a real concern. Because if you don't have parking, and this is a commuter city, that is going to create issues. So we have to really be careful about the land use bylaw that's being redeveloped and make sure that takes these matters into consideration. And I know developers, they want to make more affordable housing. They want to put in secondary suites, and they're telling me, they need to get the red tape cut to do this quicker and better. So there's a lot of discussions that need to be had. And one person can't do it all. It's going to take fulsome discussions around that council table.
So when you're saying densification, are you talking apartment buildings, multifamily
and
housing?
Secondary suites in existing residences.
I see.
But making sure, not only do they fit in with neighborhoods, because you want the neighborhoods to have that type of continuity. Like when you have infill housing, some look really great. So, you want to make sure that everything fits with the neighborhood and everybody's comfortable with it. And we have to look at those densification needs. Seniors who want to downsize, young families who want to start out. They have to start somewhere.
For sure.
And things have changed since some of us were younger, But even then, when we were making less money, but inflation was high, affordability was an issue back then too, and it may always be. But we have to address it.
Yeah. On the opposite side of the housing situation is homelessness, addictions, encampments. Those are all challenges that are still here in the city, unfortunately. So are there any changes that you'd like to see the city make to bring a betterment to that?
It's a tough question to ask because even though I've got an inside view, I'm still an outsider. But, mental health and addictions comes under different levels of government. So I think community social development at Lethbridge City Hall is doing a good job of advocating, and I think that's what we need to do is continue to advocate to get the supports we need so we can help out. And that means obviously financial supports. But this is a real tough issue, being dealt with by communities across Canada. And people who've come here from Vancouver and Victoria, Penticton, BC, have told me, compared to their communities, Lethbridge's situation is not as bad, but it's still bad to the people who live here. But it's also a crime issue. So that's where we need to support the police because they're handicapped or handcuffed, I like to use the by the catch and release bail system because people are basically spending a cup of coffee behind bars and they're getting out and they're doing repeat crimes.
Right.
And being a guy who likes to fish, when I go back to Ontario, catch and release is for fish. It's not for drug dealers or car prowlers or break-in artists. So we have to advocate on behalf of our police to get those rules changed and give them the boots on the ground that they need to get their job done. But we have to be cognizant. Mental health and addictions issues happen to people right across the spectrum. There are so many people suffering in our community, we may not even know. So we do have to be sensitive about that. And we have to find ways of helping them.
In your opinion, what's the best way to help them?
I don't know. That's a tough question. But hopefully, if I get elected, I'll be able to learn more about it and provide some insights into it.
Right. I mean, we've gone down the road of the supervised consumption site. Now the province is wanting to bring in the forced treatment. I mean, they're opposite sides of the coin. Where do you sit in that?
I think we have to look at combinations of both, perhaps. But again, these are provincial purviews. But forced intervention. almost seems like it's throwing people in jail. But if it can help some people, I mean, we have to look at everything. We have to consider it. And I'm not in a position right now, I don't think anybody running for council is right now, to be able to give concrete answers. We have to work with those different levels of government, get insights from different experts to see what they think, and try to work a council strategy around those ideas, but going to the respective levels of government.
Yeah, for sure. Councillors are not
and doing
experts,
the best we
that's
can
for sure.
with the financial resources.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, Andrew Malcolm and CSD, you know, they get a lot of flack, but like journalists, they're in a win situation. There's that old joke about journalists come to work, you know, everybody hates us. On the bright side, everybody hates us. It's a no-win situation. But so we have to be able to work with those levels of government and try to find solutions, which every community across Canada is dealing with right now.
No, exactly. On a whole other level here, what are your thoughts on a third bridge?
Well, you know, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've heard people say, well, it's just an inconvenience because we never go to the west side. But it affects a lot of people. But we can't afford to have it on our shoulders. We heard what council heard a couple of years ago about the cost. But we also know there's only so much lifespan left in Whoop Up Drive. So we have to start engaging the provincial and federal governments about building that bridge and finding a way to bear the cost, because this is huge. You know, it impacts first responders from reaching their emergency. It affects people with childcare on the west side. And if you have to take medication at a certain time and you're stuck for 90 minutes, and also the flow of commerce. So some people are saying, well, maybe we should have a ring road. And there's an idea there too, but what's the impact on a ring road if it avoids Lethbridge? I mean, Winnipeg has this ring road, you know that. But I mean, it's right in the city.
Highway.
The perimeter highway, which we've all been on. But you know, I mean, it's on the edge of the city, but it's still in the city. So how do we?
That's right, it is,
You know, because I go that way every couple of years and bounce around on it. And how do you find that balance? But we do have to engage in those discussions, because this isn't just a west side issue, it's a community issue.
No, exactly. Bike lanes, where do you stand on that? Does the city need more or less of them?
You know, well, working downtown, we know how many issues people have with those. They impact parking, they impact businesses. But, you know, in certain areas, I can see them. You know, if you're a parent and you want young kids riding your bicycles, going from a park to a park in an area on the west side or the north side. But to traverse the city, I don't know about that, but I do know, I mean, we are going to have to deal with them. They do have that pilot project. So I'd like to see how it works out.
Sure.
Because obviously, moving forward, we need to think about carbon emissions, but are they a solution on a citywide basis? I don't know. And, you know, again, that's being a person on the outside, need more information.
Right.
I know what I hear from people. It's really seemed to be a polarized situation before, or either you're for or against.
All right.
And I'm not sure what the right answer is.
Yeah. Any final thoughts to our viewers on why they should vote for you, Al?
Well, we need to get a ward system in, because it's been shown that the large system we have right now, it caters to incumbent candidates, because they already have their voter base who can, you know, basically hone in on one candidate, vote for that candidate. So they don't need a large number. They just need a certain group voting for them every year. Whereas it's been shown that a ward system increases diversity in the type of voices you're going to have. And people are going to look at me. What do you know about diversity? Well, the neighborhood I live in on the west side, you know, we have multiple religions, multiple races, different sexualities. We are a neighborhood that is extremely diverse, it's extremely welcoming, and we look out for people. And to me, that's a microcosm of what Lethbridge is, and it's a microcosm of what City Council could look like if we have a ward system.
All right. Al, thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining me
having
today
me.
in the studio.
Good to
This
see you
was
again.
great. All the best to you. Good
Thank
luck.
you so much.
Al Beeber is a candidate for Lethbridge City Council. That election is coming up on October the 20th.
And voting starts on October 8th.
There you go. Voting starts on October 8th. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks so much for watching.